Oh, why hello there. I didn't see you come in. You must be the new photographer. That's swell. What's wrong? Are you feeling a little nervous? Feeling a little scared? I remember my first summer as a photographer. With some proper guidance, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to turn this camping season from a bummer in the sun to a summer in the sun. Now, as the photographer, you're expected to deliver certain materials throughout the camping season. These materials include a pre-opening campfire slideshow, staff introduction video, troop photos for every troop to visit camp, 7 weekend reviews, 2 Cub Scout weekend reviews, summer in review video for the staff, a staff photo, and a bundle of photos and videos to copy over to the camp's external hard drive at the end of the summer. Oh, and don't forget about teaching a 1-hour class every day, just in case you're worried about having too much free time. You may also be expected to post photos to the camp's Facebook page, create staff bios, or create weekend review videos before the camping seasons for middle schools such as Dundee and Blissfield. These last 2 items are up to your camp director, so make sure to ask him or her what is expected of you. Alright, now that you have some idea of what's expected from you, let's start getting into the details about how to perform your job effectively and with the least amount of stress possible. Now, the obvious first step is learning how to use and become accustomed to your equipment. The standard equipment you'll need is a DSLR with a neck strap, a battery charger, standard lens, telephoto lens, and a high-speed large-capacity SD card, and a weatherproof camera bag to carry everything in. If you wish, you may also have an external flash or LED ring like me, a fisheye adapter, a neutral density filter for those especially bright days, or follow in Noah's steps and have a second grip with extra batteries. So Staff Week. Staff Week is going to be the easiest part of your summer, hands down. You have a few deadlines with the staff intro and things like that, but it's much more laid back than usual.
Mother Cosa!
During Staff Week, enjoy yourself as much as you can, while taking as many photos and videos as possible. Capture everything.
I mean it.
It helps in the long run. I'm not going to go into too much detail on how you should handle Staff Week. It's better if you learn it on your own. But keep in mind, you should make the DVD cover for the Summer in Review, Week in Review, and the Cub Scout Week in Review during this time. I also recommend that during Staff Week, take a look in the Leader's Guide and find the camp's weekly schedule. Use this and take note of when specific outposts are happening, and plan out your schedule accordingly.
The more work you can give others, the less you have to do yourself.
Well, not really, because you'll still have to go through the photos after you track down the cameras.
Sometimes, Jex hits me if I don't take a lot of pictures on outposts.
Most sick people are black.
Figure out when to give the outpost guide a camera, and make sure it has full batteries and an empty SD card. Encourage them not only to take photos of the scouts, but of themselves and any other staff members during the outpost. This will help you out during the Summer in Review, and will also ensure it's not only your footage. Variety is good. Also, use the weekly schedule to plan out your method of attack. Here's how I did it back in the day. Sunday. Spend the morning taking troop photos. While waiting for the troops to arrive, have some fun with the staff. Ask them weird questions, mess with them, whatever. When it comes time to take a troop's photo, ask their site guide for their troop number, how many scouts they have, and how many leaders they have. Ask your camp director for a paper roster of the troops that week, so you can mark the order in which they arrive. If you don't, you're setting yourself up for a major headache. Have the troop line itself up from shortest to tallest. And while they're doing this, mentally divide the number of scouts up by 3, rounding up if you have to. Once the troop is lined up, take the first third, the shortest, and line them up accordingly. After squishing them in tightly together, take the second third of the troop, follow directly behind the first third. Once lined up, have the remaining tallest scouts stand in a third row. You may need to have them move around slightly and squish them back into tight rows, until you're able to fit them all in the same frame. Once positioned, have the first row sit cross-legged, the second kneeling on the same knee, and if you feel extra committed, have a cat jump on your lap. Have the back row turn inwards towards each other. Then, place the leaders on either side in the back. Ask them to remove their hats, and smile. Be sure to have more than enough excess space around the troop. You'll need to crop it later, so if anyone is close to the edge, they run the risk of being cut off. The more negative space, the better. I do this until 2 o'clock or so, and then I head down to the pool for swim check photos and ecology. Now before I get too far ahead, I should mention weather. If the weather on Sunday is clear and beautiful, count your blessings. If it's raining though, your week is already off on the wrong foot. Rain means that troops don't want their photos taken, which means that you have to schedule them for later in the week, usually before morning or evening flags. So bottom line, pray for sun on Sunday. Get it? Because it's sun. Bikes. I should mention this as well. Aside from your photography equipment, bicycle is your most valuable asset. If you ask nicely, you can probably borrow one from Extreme Sports for the summer, or bring your own if you want, but you absolutely need a bike, no question about it. I recommend getting some accessories for your bike before the summer begins. Accessories including, but not limited to, 2 bike lights, one for the front, one for the back, a seat cushion, because 8 weeks of bike riding isn't kind to the butt, and a bell, because why not? Also, a bike helmet is necessary, so bring your own or steal one like I did.
Somebody's got to call it.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh man, gosh.
Look at that.
Okay, back to Sunday schedules. After taking troop photos for the day and running to the pool and eco, you usually have an hour or so to yourself. Then it's dinner time at 5:30. Because it's Sunday, all of the Plan B troops will be there as well, making the line that much longer. Now because you're a photographer, you never have to serve food. Ever. Like, don't do it. Before getting in line to eat on Sunday, be sure to stop by High Cope and get some footage of the flying squirrel. They do it on Parents' Night as well, but you won't be able to make it because of the OA call-out, so this is your only opportunity of the summer to get photos of it.
Oh, woo! Oh,
After that, you can eat. Then flags. Then Vespers. Now I should probably mention, you should always be taking photos or video. If not of scouts, then staff, for the summer in review. Now it's a bit of a hassle if you're always zipping and unzipping your bag, especially if you're taking a quick photo of something. If you have a smartphone, I highly recommend taking it with you places, especially if it's in a weatherproof durable case. Take a quick shot or video of something and then tuck away. After Vespers follows the leaders meeting at the dining hall. I took the time to mess around and catch up with some of the area directors. All on video, of course. Once you hear the pre-opening campfire down at the amphitheater, then it's time to head out and, you guessed it, take more photos and videos. Scouts, staff, skits, New Frontier, huddle, whole shindig. There may be some instances of a staff swim at the pool after opening campfire. Most Sunday nights it's straight to dismissal, and while everybody lumbers back to their sites to get some rest, you're not done yet. Oh no, you've got another 2 hours or so left of editing left to do. You get to the loft, download all of your footage throughout the day, and then start organizing it all. Now I cannot stress this next point enough. Organization is key. For example, summer camp, scouts and staff, week 1, day 1, and so on. And troop photos as well. If you haphazardly throw everything into a single folder, it's costing you valuable sleep down the road. With everything organized, go through and delete any duplicates or unwanted photos or videos. For the videos, don't worry about trimming them down to any specific size. Keeping them whole and untrimmed is fine for the moment. With your troop photos, use your sheet from earlier and label them correspondingly. Occasionally checking the scout's shoulders to make sure you're still on track with your records. Then, and only then, can you sleep.
No, I have a better one. I have a better one.
Now before going on, I want to say something. Decorate your editing room some. You want your editing room to be a swagalicious pad, where you can be chill and be comfortable in. Make it your own. Weekdays. Weekdays. The heart and soul of the camping season. You get up, go to breakfast, morning flags, make a proclamation on Sunday and Thursday about leaders turning their photos in, and then have a few hours before your photography class. After which you have lunch, then you have the afternoon to take photos and edit until dinner at 6 o'clock. Make sure on Monday to pass out the photo video order form during the 2 o'clock SPL meeting, and then, depending on the day, you go to certain areas to get photos of various events, such as the OA Social, Wiffle Ball, and Water Ball on Monday, the Root Beer Cantina on Tuesday, or any of these other activities. Wednesday evenings are different because it's Parents' Night. Earlier dinner, then you have the OA Callout, followed by another Root Beer Cantina. Then we have
Friday.
On Friday, you collect leaders' photos all morning. Be sure to write down the names and troop numbers of all the leaders that give you photos. And after all that mayhem, you teach your final photography class. And then, you start going through leaders' photos. This is a multiple hour-long process, depending on that week's leaders. Have a solid deadline of either 11 o'clock or noon for leaders to turn their photos in. Once in a while, you find a real gem of a photo from leaders, but more often than not, you'll have a lot of blurry, out-of-focus photos that you can simply delete. You'll also have a staff lunch on Friday, every week being a different place. And guess what? More photos and videos. This, on top of combing through photos, will leave you with a minimal amount of time left to eat before going back to the loft to edit the weekend review video.
Oh, did you film that? Yes.
Yes!
Let me see.
Okay, weekend review video. This has to be done as early as possible on Friday, most definitely done before 5:30 in order to render on time. Now, I edited the Word by hand for a few years, but my good buddy Noah found an easy way to do it.
So when you open Premiere Pro, you're going to have a screen that kind of looks like this. What you want to do, you just hit New Project, hit OK, and it'll bring you to a screen that looks kind of like this. Your first step is to go here into the media browser and find the files that you want. Once you've found the photos that you want, you're going to go ahead and select them all, right click, and push import. What this does is it brings all of the files into Premiere Pro so that you can use them in your video. Now, instead of a media browser going to be in project, if you drag all these pictures over here to the main sequence area, you get a bar that looks kind of like this. Inside this bar, each of those purple squares is a picture. And we can use this little blue scrolly do to look at each individual shot. So I'll select all of these pictures, go to sequence, and then say apply default transitions to selection. What that does is when you start to play the video now, it'll fade each of these pictures in between each other to get a nice smooth flow of the video. Now you can also use this top left box called the effect controls. You can use that to adjust some of the effects that you get on each individual picture or video. So let's just say I wanted this picture to, I don't know, move somewhere at this time. I want it to move all the way over here, maybe up a little bit at this time. So if you watch the video, boom, between those times that picture will actually slide up and to the right as far as you set it to. It's very simple. Play around with it. Again, all these little keystones, including the opacity. Opacity is a big one. If you go ahead and start from the beginning, select 100, go down further along, drop it to 0. Between those times, you will have a complete darkness screen. It'll drop from 100% to 0. It's very simple stuff. But if you play with all of the effects, including the audio does the same thing, kind of like a fade out. You can set the sound level to start from a high value, go down to 0, start from 0, go to 100, whatever you want. Again, play around with everything. You'll figure this kind of thing out. When you finally finish the video, you want to go ahead and select the entire thing, select enter to make sure that it's all rendered, If a video is not rendered, it's not going to cut out to the video file very well, and it won't look very smooth, so make sure everything is rendered. You can tell by this little colored bar here whether or not the video is rendered. But once the video is rendered, you can go ahead and do a couple different things. One way to do it is to push export, media, and then select your file type from there. For instance, H.264 is kind of like an MP4 video file. That's what I use sometimes. You can use that video file to then burn to the CD or whatever. Now when you start to make your videos, you're going to have a lot of pictures, and you don't want all the pictures to be chronologically ordered. It's more interesting if you have them randomized. So I'm going to show you how to do that.
I'll teach you how.
So what you're going to want to do is go into Google and type in random file renamer, and that'll bring you to this Google search. In the first link, you get something like this. Go ahead and download it way at the bottom right here. Go ahead and save the file somewhere you'll remember it. Now, what you've just downloaded looks something like this. It's in a zip file, it's called random names. What you want to do is just kind of drag that file over to the folder that you want to randomize. And you see here all these pictures are kind of in the same order that they were likely taken in. And I don't want them to be right next to each other like that. So, I'm going to drag this file in here and double click it. Just like that. Now you're given this prompt, and all you have to do is say OK. Type in OK, hit enter, and what it does is gives all of these different pictures a random number. And this random number allows it to be randomized. If you don't think it's random enough, go ahead and click it, type OK again, push enter, and it randomizes a second time.
Before we move on, let's discuss some of your other duties. Let's start with the troop photos. Now the camp prints the photos off at a very specific size, so ask your camp director what size to print them off that year, so that you can be sure that you're not cropping anyone out when editing the troop photos. Remember, be sure to leave plenty of negative space when actually taking the troop photos to give yourself room to adjust in Photoshop. Then, save a folder of the finished photos to a flash drive and get it to the office before Thursday. Okay, the summer in review. How the heck are you supposed to make something like that? Well, it isn't easy, kiddo. I learned the hard way. What you need to do is actually create it in several small segments. Have each segment begin and end at a transitional point. So when you put them together, they flow seamlessly into one another. The reason for doing this is because when you create a timeline in Premiere that's 2.5 hours long, comprised of short photos and videos, it not only takes forever to open it up every time you need to edit it, but rendering it is a nightmare. Creating it in several smaller sections, exporting and then re-importing it into a master timeline is much easier computing, and greatly reduces startup time and rendering at the end of the summer. It's a relief both for Premiere and you. The more secure you are and the more backup copies you have, the better off you'll be in the long run. Back to Friday evening. Your weekend review is rendering. You go to dinner, go to retreat, then you have the evening to yourself. Don't go to Camp White Games. But I have gone and taken photos of the Honor Camper program before, so if you want to go to that, by all means do so. Once the weekend review is finished rendering, then start making copies. At around 9:30, head down to the amphitheater and give that weekend review to the tech booth, and take more photos and videos of the staff. Now since it's the end of the week, you don't need to worry about recording any scout skits, only those involving the staff. Focus on the staff. This includes area awards, MCs, taps, everything of that kind. After dismissal, head back and get some well-deserved sleep. But make sure the weekend review copies are either still copying or done. Saturday is the easiest day of the week. You get up, stuff the individual weekend review discs into separate envelopes, carefully transport them down to HQ, and then basically grab breakfast and chill in here for the rest of the morning. You'll more often than not be roped into helping sign blue cards and things like that. But until cleanup, you're basically sitting in here doing nothing. And then cleanup, and then dismissal. I've stayed behind at camp a few times to catch up on the summer in review. I like to be up to date on the week of. So for example, if it's week 6 Saturday, I like to have week 6 Saturday in the summer in review before I dismiss myself. So if you're behind, I recommend staying behind and working on it because it's going to help in the long run. The reason for this is because on week 7 Friday, it's make it or break it. Week 7 is your trial by fire. You've made it 6 weeks so far and feel like you have a semi-good handle on the whole thing, but then it hits you. Not only do you have another week in review due, but you also have 2 Cub Scout weekend reviews on top of the summer in review. The Weeble Wobbles are an incredible challenge. You need to grab a schedule of both sessions' movements, making sure you're in enough different locations and covering enough different groups to create a quality weekend review for both sessions. Their weekend reviews can be a bit shorter, and feel free to be less stingy with the leaders' photos as well as your own. It's a quantity over quality situation. Now on Friday night, you're going to be in complete zombie mode. This is the last little bit of the summer. Both Cub Scout weekend reviews done. All the other weekend reviews done. You get through closing campfire and take your final photos and videos of the summer. Everyone's sad, the emotions are high, and you get it all on video. Then you head back to the loft for your final video editing session. Keeping up with the current week for the summer in review is paying off at this moment. All you have to do is import, organize, and edit this last days of footage into your timeline. You export that final segment, add it to your overall timeline, and create that first master disc. Do not, I repeat, do not go to bed until you started that first initial render. I don't care how tired you are, I don't care how much you want to sleep, you force yourself awake through the editing, keeping your eyelids open till the computer does its thing. You get that done and edited, you hear me? Set an alarm for about 5 hours later to wake yourself up and check on the video, making sure everything is still working as it should be, then go back to sleep. The reason for this is because rendering takes about 3 times as long as a final video. So if your summer in review is 2.5 hours, that's 7.5 hours of rendering time. That's time you can't afford on Saturday. You need that time to rest, go through photos, copy them over to the camp's external hard drive, and your own if you want. Then start copying the summer in review onto individual discs before that night at the amphitheater. What I like to do is play the summer in review off an external hard drive and not a DVD. This way it ensures that it won't skip or freeze or anything like that. You can just simply sit back and enjoy watching. And that's it. 8 weeks, countless photos and gigabytes, numerous hernias, and you're done. Easy, right? Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some editing to do.